Briar Inlet, Massachusetts, 12:07 a.m., early winter. A barefoot girl stood under a gas station floodlight, 3 smaller kids behind her, rain needling their faces. "We don't got a name," she said to the bikers. Engines idled, leather creaked. At the far end, the Hellsangels road captain set down his coffee and stood up. Briar Inlet, Massachusetts, salt in the air, gulls arguing with the wind, the ocean breathing like a tired animal. Midnight rain turned the blacktop into a mirror outside Harbor Mart. Reid Anchor Dalton, road captain of the Hellsangels Briar Inlet charter, leaned on his FXDL, steam rising off the pipes. His brothers clustered by the pumps, damp patches flashing under sodium light. Then the door chimed. A teenage girl, thin but square-shouldered, stepped out carrying a toddler wrapped in a towel. 2 smaller kids followed, clutching a cereal box like treasure. She met Anchor's eyes without flinching. "We don't got a name," she said. "Not one that keeps us." The clerk mumbled about loitering. Anchor's jaw moved once. He peeled off his gloves and crouched to the kid's height. "I'm Anchor," he said. "You got first names?" The girl nodded. "I'm Nova. This is Ash, Ivy, and the baby. We've been calling him Little." The baby blinked, rain winking on his lashes. "You hungry?" Anchor asked. Nova didn't nod. She simply said yes. Inside, the fluorescent hums softened around hot dogs, rotating like planets, and a microwave that wheezed. Dilla, the sergeant, spread out foil-wrapped burritos and chocolate milk, paid cash, and slid the rest of the register's diapers into a bag. Jay Bird, the newest prospect, shrugged off his denim to make a dry pad on a bench. Nova fed Little first, then Ash and Ivy, then herself, fingers shaking only when she stilled. Anchor watched her triage with the calm of someone who knows what to do when the worst walks in. "Where are your folks?" he asked, easy, not prying. Nova's eyes went somewhere far. "He left." She left louder. She swallowed. "Said the debt would be lighter without us." Tilla's mouth tightened. Anchor kept his voice level. "Anyone chasing you?" Nova glanced through the glass. A dark SUV idled across the lot, lights off, windshield slick with rain. "Him," she whispered. "He said we're worth money now." Anchor's hand folded around the receipt. Paper clicked like a switch. "Okay," he said. "We're leaving." The bikers moved like tide, quiet, coordinated, inevitable. Rain sheeted off the awning as Anchor handed out spare lids. He tucked the baby into his leather vest, zipper open just enough for breath and warmth, the tiny face against the patch like a heartbeat. "Nova, ride with me," he said. "Ash with Tilla, Ivy with Jaybird." The SUV's engine growled awake. A silhouette leaned forward, phone to ear. Anchor swung onto the Harley, Nova climbing behind, her arms tightening around him with a desperate, careful strength. "Hold on," he said. They rolled out as one, chrome strigging through rain like a river of light. The SUV followed, predatory slow. At the highway split, Anchor flicked his signal, then cut left at the last second onto the old cannery road. Broken concrete, puddles like black eyes. The club fanned out, blocking sightlines. The SUV overshot, braked hard, fishtailed, then vanished behind a wall of fog. Anchor didn't look back. Nova did once, and let a breath shudder loose into his shoulder. They pulled into Dock 7, an abandoned boat shed the charter kept for bad weather fixes and worse weather favors. The place smelled like diesel ghosts and rope. String lights glowed from a buzzing strip anchored to rusted beams. Margot, the club's unofficial quartermaster, had arrived faster than the rain. She passed out towels, soup in styrofoam, and a stacking of donated coats that smelled faintly of cedar. Ash and Ivy sat cross-legged on a tarp, slurping noodles and staring at a wall of framed photos. Memorial rides, toy runs, a Christmas line of wrapped bikes like reindeer. Nova swayed on her feet until Margot's palm found her back and guided her to a chair. Anchor placed Little into her arms, then crouched. "We're not cops," he said. "But we don't leave people in the road." Nova studied the big back patch, death head and wings, the thing folks whisper about. What she saw instead was weather-beaten care. "He'll come," she said. "He always comes," Anchor nodded. "Then we'll be ready when he does." Ready began with phones. Anchor dialed Mara Chen, a legal aid who'd once handled his sister's restraining order and never forgot favors. "Trafficking by debt," he said. "Private repo boys running kids like assets." She exhaled a curse, then, "I'm awake. Send me plates." Tiller snapped photos of the SUV when it ghosted past the loading bay, headlights off. Jaybird posted lookouts at the pier and along the rail spur with hand radios older than him. Margot set a space heater near the kids and pressed socks into small hands like prizes. Nova's shoulders dropped, half an inch of surrender to warmth, not defeat. Anchor poured coffee black as the night. "You said no last name?" he murmured. Nova's stare flickered. "It was the name that hurt us," she said. "It showed up on ledgers." Anchor nodded, remembering a hospital sheet that once turned his family into a bill. He looked at the kids. "Names can be armor too," he said softly. "Sometimes you pick one that makes people think twice." Outside, the dock lights flickered under the weight of the storm. The ocean beyond the breakwater pulsed like a black lung. Anchor stood under the doorway, cigarette glowing faint, listening to the rain drum on the tin roof. Nova sat on a cot beside the space heater, eyes half closed, rocking Little gently. "You think they'll come?" she asked. Anchor didn't lie. "They'll try." He glanced at Tiller. "How long until Chen calls back?" "Said she's getting a warrant started. Said this guy's on 2 state watch lists already." Nova's jaw tensed. "He always said we were his best investment." Anchor's voice dropped low, more gravel than sound. "Not anymore." Behind him Ivy laughed softly, her first sound in hours, as Jaybird let her sit on his Harley, making engine noises with her hands. For the first time, the air didn't feel hunted. The rain softened. Anchor stepped closer to Nova. "You trust me yet?" She looked up. "Not yet," she said. "But I'm learning." That was enough. Headlights cut through the mist again, too steady to be cops. Anchor's eyes met Tiller's, no words. The club moved. Jaybird killed the lights, rolled the bay door half down. Through the slats, shadows crept. 3 men, trench coats, weapons, silhouettes in the rain. "Repo crew," Tiller whispered. Anchor handed Nova his phone. "If this goes bad, you run out the back to the rocks. The others know the path." Nova shook her head. "You helped us. I'm not leaving you." Anchor's gaze held hers, steady and impossible. "You already left that man." "That was the hard part." Before she could answer, the first figure kicked the door. Metal screeched. Anchor swung it up from inside and stepped into the downpour. "You lost?" he asked. The tallest laughed. "She's ours, Dalton." "Paper says so." Anchor cracked his neck. "Paper burns." His brothers fanned behind him. Lightning split the sky. The dock trembled. Then the world erupted in sound, engines revving, shouting, the sharp bark of warning shots slicing the night. The fight wasn't cinematic, it was real, messy, fast. Boots in water, chains swinging, rain blurring everything into noise. Anchor ducked a blow, slammed the man's shoulder into a piling. Tiller disarmed another with the cold efficiency of habit. Jaybird took a hit to the jaw and came back laughing, blood bright under his grin. Inside, Nova shielded the kids behind crates, whispering, "Close your eyes." The baby wailed, tiny fists trembling. Outside, a shot cracked. Anchor froze, heart kicking. One of the attackers stumbled back, clutching his leg. Not dead, but down. Sirens wailed far off. "Chen's doing." Anchor turned toward the last man, Trent's lieutenant, the one with the smirk. "Tell your boss he's done," Anchor said, rain dripping from his brow. "He doesn't own people." "Not in my town," the man spat. "You think you're saviors?" "No," Anchor said. "We're reminders." He stepped forward. The man bolted into the night, tires screeching seconds later. The dock went still except for the rain. Grey light bled through the fog. The ocean shimmered dull silver. Margot poured coffee for everyone, her hands shaking only from cold. Nova sat wrapped in a blanket, Little asleep in her lap. Ivy traced the outline of Anchor's patch with one finger. "What's that skull mean?" she asked. Anchor smiled faintly. "It means we remember the people who couldn't finish their rides." She nodded, thinking that over. Tiller came back from the sheriff's office. "Chen says it's locked down. He's done. No one's touching them again." Anchor finally let his shoulders drop. He looked at Nova. "You ever thought about staying put?" She hesitated. "Don't know how." "We can teach you," he said. Outside, the waves hissed against the rocks, like they were whispering approval. Margot handed Nova a patch, a small cloth angel wing cut from an old jacket. "For the little ones," she said. "If anyone asks, they ride with us now." Nova ran her thumb over the frayed edge and smiled through tears she didn't hide. The sun cracked over Briar Inlet for the first time in days, laying gold across the asphalt. A line of bikes shimmered under it, engines purring like lions in their sleep. Anchor adjusted his mirror. Behind him, Nova sat straight-backed, the kids snug in a support van borrowed from Margot. The old sign read, "Leaving Briar County. Come back soon." She leaned forward, resting her chin near his shoulder. "So what now?" she asked. "Now we give you a home," he said. "Got an old clubhouse in Savannah. Kids are like the beach." She smiled faintly. "And us?" Anchor smirked. "We'll figure it out." Roads long. As they rolled south, the children waved at passing cars, faces lit with something pure. Belonging. Nova looked down at Little sleeping in her arms. Then at the patch sewn onto the sleeve of her borrowed jacket, "Angels don't abandon their own." She traced the words, whispering them once under her breath like a prayer, then louder, like a promise. The old Hellsangels clubhouse sat on the edge of the marsh, a mix of rust and stories. Spanish moss hung from the oaks like tired lace. The wooden sign out front had faded letters, but the heart of the place still beat loud. Bikes in a row, laughter spilling from the garage. Nova stepped out of the van, the kids trailing behind like ducklings. "This is it?" she asked. Anchor grinned. "It's rough, but so are we." Inside, the place felt alive. Photos of fallen riders covered one wall. Another held shelves of helmets, some dusty, some freshly polished. Ivy ran her hand across the polished chrome of a tank. "It's like a castle," she said. Anchor chuckled. "Exactly. Just louder." Margot came in carrying grocery bags. "New arrivals eat first," she said. Nova took one, awkward but grateful. For the first time, her hands weren't shaking from fear. They were shaking from being needed. Little by little, home began to sound like laughter. The coastal fog lifted slow, revealing a sunrise, pink as coral. Nova stood by the dock, barefoot, coffee in one hand, Little on her hip. Anchor approached, wiping oil from his hands, the smell of gasoline still clinging to him. "You sleep?" he asked. She nodded. "First time in months." "That's how you know you're safe," he said. Silence stretched between them, not awkward, just full. "When you found us," she asked, "did you already decide to help?" Anchor looked at her, thoughtful. "Nah, I just saw myself 20 years back." Nova studied him. "Someone saved you." "Yeah," he said quietly. "And I didn't believe them either. Not until they stuck around after the hard part." He turned toward the bikes, sunlight catching the metal like fire. "Guess I'm just paying it forward." Nova looked down at Little, who was trying to grab her coffee cup, and smiled softly. "Then I guess we're learning how to stay." Thunder bruised the sky. Inside the clubhouse, kids chased each other between bar stools, while the brothers patched vests and joked about ghosts. Nova sat at the counter, flipping through old Polaroids. One photo stopped her. A much younger anchor in uniform, sand in his hair, eyes hollow but alive. She looked up. "You were a soldier." He nodded slowly. "Before, the road gave me somewhere to drive the noise. And now? Now I just build instead of destroy." The storm cracked outside, sudden and close. Nova flinched, instinct from too many bad nights. Anchor noticed, walked over and turned up the jukebox. Old Johnny Cash, humming through the walls. "Let it thunder," he said. "We're louder." The kids started dancing barefoot on the floor. Avi spun ash until they both fell over laughing. Nova's chest loosened. The storm raged on, but inside, for the first time in her life, the sound didn't scare her. It sounded like the sky finally letting go. The club organized a charity ride, over 100 bikers rolling through downtown, engines echoing off the cobblestones. The banner at the front read, "Ride for the Nameless." Nova rode pillion behind Anchor, wind whipping her hair, her hands steady on his jacket. The kids watched from a pickup bed, waving small flags. Crowds lined the sidewalks, clapping as the convoy passed. At the park, news crews filmed as Anchor dismounted and handed Nova the microphone. She froze for a heartbeat. Anchor leaned in, murmured, "Just tell them what you told me that night." She breathed in, faced the cameras. "We were nobody," she said, voice shaking but strong. "No names, no home. But these men didn't ask where we came from. They just said, 'You're safe now.'" Her eyes glistened. "Sometimes family isn't blood. Sometimes it's whoever keeps the lights on when the world goes dark." Applause broke like surf. Anchor stepped forward, draped his cut over her shoulders. "Now you've got a name," he whispered. The clubhouse glowed soft under string lights. Plates scraped, kids giggled. The smell of barbecue hung heavy. Nova sat outside on the steps, barefoot again, watching the tide roll in. Anchor joined her, 2 beers in hand. "For the record," he said, handing her one, "you handled that crowd better than half of Congress." She laughed. "My hands were shaking the whole time. Didn't show." He stared at the water, quiet. "You know, in the club we've got a saying, 'You earn your patch by how you ride when no one's watching.'" She tilted her head. "What does that mean for me?" He looked at her then, eyes warm and steady. "Means you already earned it, Nova Angel." She blinked. "Angel?" "Yeah, you and the kids. We figured that's the name you'd choose." Tears welled but didn't fall. She whispered it once, testing it. "Nova Angel." The words fit like they'd been waiting for her all along. Fog slid over the marsh like smoke. The world was quiet except for the click of a lighter. Anchor sat on the porch rail, cigarette between his fingers, boots damp from dew. Nova joined him, hoodie over her tank, hair messy from sleep. "You ever miss the road?" she asked softly. "Every day," he said. "But sometimes the best road ends where it's supposed to." Nova leaned against the post, watching sunlight crawl up the horizon. "You gave us everything. What do you get out of it?" Anchor smiled faintly. "Peace, maybe. I stopped fighting ghosts when I met you." She looked down at Little, who toddled across the porch dragging a toy Harley one of the brothers had carved. "Guess we all found our peace then." Anchor flicked his cigarette into a can, stood and stretched. "Nah," he said, "peace is temporary. Family's what sticks." He started the coffee pot as the fog lifted, leaving warmth in its place. The scent of oil and sawdust hung thick. Nova wiped grease from her hands, squinting at the engine she and Ivy were helping to rebuild. "Lefty Lucy," Ivy repeated proudly, twisting the wrench. Anchor stood behind them, arms crossed, grinning. "She's a natural," he said. "You too?" Nova shook her head. "I was terrified of machines once." "Machines don't hurt people," he said. "People do." Nova nodded slowly, the truth settling in. Across the room, Tiller tuned a radio, static crackling into blues. "Tomorrow's the adoption hearing," he called out. Nova froze. The world felt too still for a second. Anchor caught her glance. "You ready?" "I think so," she whispered. For the first time, I want my name on paper. Anchor stepped closer, voice low. That's how you know it's real. He handed her a polished silver wrench with her initials engraved on it. For the record, he said, that's your patch now. The courtroom smelled faintly of wood polish and nerves. Nova sat at the front, Little in her lap, Ash and Ivy beside her. Anchor stood behind, arms folded like a sentry. The judge adjusted his glasses. Miss Nova, you understand this means legal guardianship by Mr. Dalton and the Hells Angels of Savannah chapter. Nova nodded, eyes wet. Yes, sir. They're our family. The judge smiled gently. Then by the authority of this court, your new legal name is Nova Angel. Ivy clapped first, then Ash, then even the judge chuckled. Nova covered her mouth, laughter breaking through tears. Anchor leaned forward, whispering, "Told you it fit." As they left, cameras flashed, but Nova didn't hide her face. For once, she wanted the world to see her. Outside, sunlight caught her leather jacket, her own cut this time, with a small stitched patch on the back. Nova Angels, first of her name. She ran her hand over it, whispering, "Home." Engines thundered down Highway 17, a sea of red and chrome, heading north to deliver supplies to a hurricane shelter. Nova rode her own bike now, a matte black Sportster with angel wings airbrushed on the tank. Ash rode behind Anchor in the lead truck, grinning ear to ear. At every stop, locals clapped and waved. Nova carried herself differently now, steady, unflinching, eyes bright with something fierce. During a rest stop, Anchor leaned against his bike beside her. "You ever think how far you've come?" She smiled. "Every mile." He handed her a bandana printed with the words, "Ride for the Lost." "That was me once," she said. "Was," he teased. "Still are. But now you lead them home." When they took off again, the convoy stretched across the horizon like a moving storm. But this one didn't destroy. It healed. Every roar of those engines carried her name into the wind. Nova Angel. Months had passed since that rainy night, but the memory still echoed like distant thunder. Nova stood at the same gas station, now quiet, freshly painted. She left a bouquet by the pump where she first met them. Anchor joined her, helmet in hand. "Feels different now," she said. "It's the same spot, but I'm not the same girl." Anchor smiled. "That's what family does. It rewrites the ghosts." He looked at the bouquet. "You sure about leaving it?" She nodded. "For the me who didn't have a name yet." They stood in silence as gulls circled overhead, the ocean breathing steady behind them. Then Nova turned, swung her leg over the Harley, and started the engine. "Ready?" she asked. Anchor grinned. "Always." They rode into the setting sun, engines low and even, leaving behind the place where nameless kids became angels. The sign ahead read, "Welcome home, riders." She smiled, whispering to the wind, "We are. If this story hit your heart, if you felt the road, the roar, and the power of finding family in unexpected places, then you're one of us. Please subscribe, like, and ring that bell. There's always another road to ride, another lost soul to bring home. Ride safe, angels.